Today we are celebrating Father's Day, and joining me are four familiar faces. Producers, reporters here at CBN. They're great fathers in their own right, or I know they're striving to be.
Yes.
Roberto Torres Cedillo, Ephraim Graham, George Thomas, and Wes Recourses. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're so glad to have you here with our beautiful background, a nice fire stoked in the back.
Total wonderful ambiance, right? Let's go camping.
So Father's Day.
I don't know how to build a fire, though.
We're going to talk about some of your weaknesses as a man. Coming up. Father's Day is soon. I'm curious for you guys, when you think of Father's Day, just now, is it like, good, I get to relax, I'm going to tell people to leave me alone, this is my day to chill? Or is it like, I'm going to get the kids and my wife and we're just going to go out and do activities? What do you want?
My wife always asks me what I want for Father's Day, and my response is usually peace and quiet. I think the U.S. Open is usually on, the final round of the golf tournament, so that's probably what I'm looking forward to. Whether or not I'm going to be able to get that, that's another story altogether.
Okay, a little time for yourself.
Yeah, for me, it's planting season. So my kids know that when Father's Day rolls around, we are planting begonias. We are uprooting all the roots from the earlier season. And so we go out, we'll fill up the back of the truck with all these beautiful flowers. So they know that. That is a tradition that we have been doing since the kiddos were like 5 and 6. I'm not quite sure if they really enjoy the whole process, but fortunately this year I got around to planting my begonias much earlier, only because now I'm an empty nester. Yeah. So I had to do it on my own, which was, I know it.
But George, later in life, they're going to look back so fondly on those Father's
Are you
Days.
kidding me?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Of course they will.
Hopefully with a smile on their face and not like, oh my gosh, it's Father's Day. But, yeah.
What about you guys?
No big traditions for me. I always kind of am spending the day reminding the children of how wonderful Mother's Day was and trying to compare. Like, do you guys remember what you did? Okay, I didn't get that. So I spend it complaining and listing how Mom got more than me.
Now, our kids are a little older. Roberto, you've got young kids.
Yeah, I'm the youngest, the least experienced, learning from you guys. So yeah, I got a 3-year-old and an 8-month-old. So I think, right now it's the season where we're doing things together. So it's not, I don't get a lot of breaks, because it's like that season where they're very young and, if we're going to do something with Father's Day, it's like we're all doing it together, which is fine. I enjoy it. But if I do get a break, maybe it'll be to watch a movie, because I don't get to go to the movies very often, and I enjoy that. So maybe this year.
Let me go around the horn again, just for the sake of the show, so people have context. You have how many kids and how old?
2. So Benaya is 3, and Lev is 8 months old.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I've got 2 as well. Logan is 23, Sarah is 16.
All right, I got 3. My boys are 18 and 17. My daughter is 12, George.
I've got 2 boys, Gabriel and Michael, 23, almost 23, and 21.
I have 2 kids. My son, Jonah, he's 9 years old, and my daughter, Sophia, just turned 13.
Wow.
So I am the parent of a brand new female 13-year-old teenager. So.
Good luck. I know.
Right, I'm in the throes of that, 16.
You were all really quick to answer. If I ask you your anniversaries, would it come that quick as well?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
Let's do it, come on.
I want you to stay with us for this special Father's Day episode of 700 Club Interactive. We'll be right back after a quick break.
I think it's on. Well, gosh, I have 2 kids. And that first year was great.
First year as a dad. Wow. Everything's new. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm scared. Going to the hospital, right? Just the whole process of timing the contractions and making sure this is, we know what we're doing, and just realizing that I don't know what I'm doing.
I remember learning how humbling it is to be a dad. I remember my second son, he was a little guy, and I did something in public to embarrass him. It wasn't a big deal, but I went up to him and I said, "Hey buddy, I'm sorry that I embarrassed you in front of other people. It certainly won't be the last time." And without missing a beat, he said, "Well, Dad, it wasn't the first."
I remember the day Gabriel was born, and I came home and the AC had broken. It was like 150 degrees in my house. And he was so uncomfortable, and I thought, this kid is gonna die. There's no way I'm gonna make it at all that this kid would ever survive. But that first year was, oh my gosh, it was a roller coaster.
Interesting raising boys. I don't know if you're a dad who has ever driven your boys to the baseball field for their game and one of them shows up covered in poop and he's about to run out on the field. You got to do some quick thinking and cleanup with help from the brother, and that was a very interesting day.
Actually, when Gabriel was 4 months old, I had the brilliant idea of traveling 10,000 miles from my home to India. And I took this kid on a trip to India at 4 months old, and it was epic. And that began an enormous love affair that my oldest has had with traveling the world, similar to his pops. I guess this apple didn't fall too far from the tree.
Yeah, first year was a learning curve. I mean, so many lessons. I think one thing that comes to mind is just not realizing how much I needed to still grow. You know, people would tell me marriage is gonna make you grow. It's gonna really, show you those weak spots. And I definitely learned that I'm more selfish than I thought I was. But parenting is on a whole nother level. I mean, being a dad, in one way it's easy because you would be willing to do whatever. I'd lay my life like that for my son. But at the same time, it's in the little things that you realize how selfish you can be.
Also, as a new dad, I thought I had to do things perfectly, but I'm doing things I've never had to do before. And would I say the right things when my wife was tired and all these things husbands and dads think about? And I wish, looking back, that I'd just been a little more relaxed and enjoyed it more. I would encourage a young dad to enjoy the process early on because it's something you'll look back on with wonderful memories.
Well, I guess, George, we are the best dads because
Totally.
we didn't hear from Wes after Roberto, so way to go.
Way to go, man.
So you took, how old was, you went to India?
I did, yeah. That began, like I said, just this love affair that my boys have had. My oldest today is in Kona, Hawaii. My youngest is in Amman, Jordan. And they really love to travel the world. And it's great because, so much of that was passed down from my father. My father gave me the love for the world. I say that my mother gave me the love for culture and religion and people. My dad was a traveler. He was a banker. And so I would see him quite often traveling the world. That was passed down to me. And it's a privilege and honor for me to pass it down to my kids. I tell my kids, when they were 21 and 20, they accomplished more than I had ever accomplished when I was at their age. Gabriel had traveled to already like 14, 15 countries when he was 20. It was incredible, So I always tell my kids, my desire is that you would do more than I have ever done as your father.
Yeah.
I think that's the desire for all of us as fathers.
Yeah. That's really beautiful. There's a saying that my dad tells me, son, my roof is your floor. Very similar to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But seriously, though, you took your kid to India when he was 4 months old. I mean, when my kids were 4 months old, I was scared taking them to Walmart. We had the plane ride.
That is crazy. I alluded to it a little bit in that video, but did you guys ever feel like, gosh, my wife just seems to have a natural instinct for how to do all this stuff, whatever it is, and I just kind of had to learn as I go. I guess she did too, but did you guys have some moments where you thought you were really just dropping the ball as a dad, and then others where you were pretty proud of yourself, Ephraim, right?
I was pretty proud of a few things that I did that you probably should. I don't know if I should even share this, but I gave both of my children all of their baths for the first year.
Oh, wow.
But here's how I did it. They went in the shower with me. And I was like, okay. And I would yell, okay, he's done. And I was like, no need for a bathtub, no need for all that. I'll literally just come in the shower with me. And I thought, well, looking back, I'm thinking, I've seen people with bathtubs and
But I want to hear about this camping trip you alluded to off camera that you took that didn't go so well.
Here's a piece of advice for dads. Be the dad that you are. Don't try and fake and be something that you aren't. So this is a case where I was trying to be the man that I'm not. So I decided I'm going to take my son camping.
How old was he?
He was maybe 7 or 8.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to take him camping. We packed up, had my Land Rover, got the tent, all this stuff
You're
in
really
the back of the
roughing
car.
it in your Land
in my Land Rover. Pitched the tent, got there, so we're doing our thing. And I was like, I hate this. I hate this.
Were you surprised
it
you
was
hated it?
hot. I don't know if he was having a good time. And literally, I got him to go to sleep. And then while he was sleeping, I packed up everything. And I said, you're going to wake up in your own bed. And so am I. And I packed it back in the car, took him in the house. My wife's going, what happened? I was like, I'm not doing that.
But that's great counseling. You learn, be the dad you are.
Right,
That's really
right.
helpful.
Be who you are. It's like, I could only play basketball with my son for a couple of years till he realized, you're not good. So, I mean, I'll be who I am. And that was easier than me trying to fake to be another.
Do you guys have things from your own fathers that you want to emulate, but then also things, you know, they had weaknesses and you learned, I'm going to be a different parent in that way?
Yeah.
Wes?
You know, I'm thinking of a Mark Twain quote, and I'm going to butcher it right now, but it's something to the effect of, when I was 18 years old, you know, I thought my father was ignorant. He had no clue of the way the world worked. And when I was 22 years old, I was surprised at how much he had learned in 4 years. So, I mean, you know, looking back and just thinking I was so blessed. My dad's still alive, you know, 78 years old, still going strong. I was so blessed to have a person like that in my life, you know, being out there, being involved, taking me to the Little League games, even though I go 0 for 4 and make 2 errors at second base. You know, he was having the time of his life being out there.
Yeah, I think for me, you know, when I was growing up and as I got older, my dad never said the words "I love you" to me, and I think part of it was cultural. And he was he was a man of very few words, but I knew that he loved me by just how steady and the stability that he brought to our family. My mom was the opposite. She was the conversationalist. She was always affectionate. And when I was growing up, I always said to myself that when I had kids, I would always be affectionate with my kids, and I would always tell them how much I loved them. And I love that. And obviously, you know, you take bits and pieces. Not everybody has a wonderful father, you know, in their house, you know, and I understand that. People who are watching, you may have had an abusive father, maybe one who was absent, maybe one who just wasn't involved. But I think as the next generation, we have the opportunity to break some of those cycles, right? And create an environment that would, you know, hopefully pass down to the next generation for them to emulate as well.
So just real quick, so my dad left our family when I was 7. I saw him a lot, but nevertheless he left. Yet we were a father and son who always hugged each other. I love you, I love you. It's just a different dynamic. I know we're going to go to a break in a second, but how about you guys? You want to weigh in on this?
I practiced the lesson that he just mentioned because I didn't grow up without my dad. So I with a father in the home or a relationship. So when I did have children, I vowed I was going to be present and they were going to know their dad, whether they liked him or not. They were going to know him, so I'm present.
Wow. Well, one thing that comes to mind is my dad. He sacrificed a lot for our family, specifically for me. Long story, I was born in Mexico. When I was 11 years old, we moved to the States. And my dad was at the height of his career. He was a famous musician and singer in Mexico. He was singing at the largest stadium in Mexico back then, Estadio Azteca. He was known, and by making the change for me, for our family, putting us first, that was what basically changed the trajectory of his career. And he's not very famous right now, but in my heart, he's that.
Beautiful story.
Yeah.
Beautiful.